What kind of gear can you use to record videos for learning? I'm Eddie Wu and I'm a high school mathematics teacher. Years ago, I started recording my regular classroom lessons to help out one of my students who was sick and couldn't attend school. And much to my surprise, people all around the world have found these videos useful and watched them tens of millions of times. I've been asked by lots of teachers how they themselves can get started in using the power of YouTube to help their students learn. If you're an accredited educator looking to support your classes and share your teaching with the world, then this is for you. In this video, I'm going to teach you about the kind of gear that you can use to make videos the way that I have. And there'll be two sections. First, I'll show you how to record with the simplest setup possible, using your phone. This is how I started all those years ago, and cameras and smartphones have only gotten better since then. It's also a camera that virtually everyone already has, and with a little extra equipment for sound, you can get some really great quality footage out of it. Second, for those who are interested in a more serious setup, I'll show you the equipment I currently use to record my classroom lessons. It's a little bit more heavy duty, but it comes with some very useful advantages which I'll unpack in more detail later on. So let's start with your phone. The first challenge when you're filming with your phone is you need to be able to position it somewhere stable. And most phones don't stand up straight if you just set them on their edge. Even those that do, don't stay that way for very long, as I found out the hard way. Thankfully, there are lots of little holders like this one, which you can use to fix your phone in a spot so you can shoot. Let me show you how it works. It's really simple. You just kind of take these jaw parts here, and then you position your phone in there, and it'll clip into place, and there you go. This particular one has a screw thread on the bottom which you can attach to a stand or a tripod like this. Once you've got it in place, find any flat surface that's about the right height. If you've got a table, or I used to put a chair on top of a table, just be careful with where you place that, and then once you've got that there, you're good to go. It'll stay in its place and you can frame up just nicely. Other ones like this come with a stand that's built in. Whichever one you like, just make sure that you can have it positioned so you can see everything that you need, like yourself, a whiteboard, and whatever else you want in the shot. Now these are pretty useful, but don't feel that you need something this fancy if you're just starting out. When I began, I just knocked something together in the school woodwork room that fit my phone. You could even build a stand out of Lego if you have some of that lying around. So you have something to keep your phone steady. What next? There's some simple gear that will help you improve the quality of what you're recording for your students. Now, pretty much every smartphone released in the last 5 years will record in 4K resolution. And to give you a sense of what that means, if you're watching a video back on a smartphone, it's most likely being shown to you in Full HD or 1080p resolution, which is about 1/4 of the pixels that your phone can actually record. What I'm trying to say is you can get a fairly sharp and detailed image out of this camera. The biggest single thing you can do to improve the quality of your videos is not about what you see, it's about what you hear. Sound is hugely important, and there are lots of options. Let me show you some of the ones that I have here. This one is the Rode Video Mic Me. It plugs straight into the bottom of your phone like this, and it's what we call a directional mic. So wherever you're pointing your camera, it's going to get audio from that same direction as well. A very similar one here is the Shure MV88. Same idea, plugs into the bottom of your phone. It's very compact, which is very handy. It has some additional flexibility for which direction the microphone is facing as well. Now, both of these are great if what you want is something really tiny and small you can put in your bag and not have to worry about very much. But if you're willing to actually put a little effort in, something like this is even better. This is a Rode Smart Lav, and Lav is just short for lavalier. Fancy name. All it means is the kind of microphone that you can attach to your clothing. I tend to wear mine on my tie, but you can put it anywhere on your shirt, so long as it's nice and close to your mouth. Because of that short distance, you will always get really great quality audio out of it compared to something that is a few meters away. This end here is all of the wires. It's very, very long, which you can see I can use to attach to the end of my smartphone, just like a pair of headphones. And now, whatever audio is directly from here will record onto my phone and be part of the same video file when I press record. Super, super handy. Also, really quite affordable, to be honest. So if you're willing to sort of fuss around with these wires and take them with you every time, this is going to be a really good option for you. Now, the internet has trained us all to get used to pretty grainy video, but sound quality is something that makes a huge subconscious difference, especially when teaching, since so much of what we want to convey is verbal. And as an added bonus, once your audio quality improves, you'll also notice that the automatically generated captions on YouTube will dramatically increase in quality. It won't be perfect, but they will definitely be good enough to be useful, which can make a huge difference for our students with hearing difficulties. So this is your basic starter kit. Phone, stand, and then your microphone. If you're just dipping your toes into the water, this is where I'd encourage you to begin. If you want to go further though, let me explain to you what my current setup is. It has all the same basic functions, but I'll show you the advantages that you gain from using more advanced equipment. A few years ago, I upgraded to this. This is a Panasonic GH5. If you want to know more specifics about this camera itself, there are hundreds of reviews that you can find online, but I just want to explain the particular benefits I get from using this for recording my lessons. First thing is, you can see it right on the front, a zoom lens. Now, this is not a special fancy one, it's the one that came with the camera. And what this allows me to do is have the camera at the back of the classroom, and the zoom lens means that I can capture all of the action right at the front. There you can see behind this lens, you've also got a sensor in here, which is far superior to the sensor you'll get in your smartphone. And what that means is you can handle a wide variety of lighting situations, like typical one when you've got a projector on the screen in the background, which is very, very bright, and then you're in the front, which is quite dark. So this camera can manage both of those. You also got a screen on the back here. It flips out, but it's reversible so that you can check the shot while you're in it. It's also a Wi-Fi enabled camera, so I can control it remotely from my phone. And one of the best things about this is that the batteries are interchangeable. So I can swap them in and out in the middle of a lesson or between lessons while the other battery is on the charger. And this is something which caught me a lot of times when I was recording during a normal day. Your phone battery will try its best to soldier on, but one of the most intense things it does is recording videos. So it's going to get drained very fast, and having interchangeable batteries is very handy. Now, when it records video, it records onto this SD card. This is just a kind of memory, and why that's useful is, well, you can have a whole bunch of these which have much higher capacity than what your phone does. And let me just say, I've done it many times where I've been recording and I've had a great lesson that I've delivered, but then my phone has run out of memory in the middle, hasn't told me until the end, and I don't have the footage from it. So this is an advantage. I will point out though that if you go this path and you have these little SD cards, some laptops, some computers, you can just find a card reader that's built into the computer, plug it in, and then you can get your video files. But often you can't do that. You'll need something separate. So what I've got here is a little card reader. The card just goes in the top like that, and this will plug into your computer or your iPad or whatever you use to edit your videos. Now, one last little feature on here is also on the screen. There's a little readout here that you can see the audio signal, so you can know whether you're recording sound properly or not. And let me just say, I've done it many times where I've forgotten to record sound or just don't have something plugged in, so that will save you, I promise. Now, I've mentioned a lot of options for microphones before, but because I normally record my lessons with my camera all the way on the opposite side of the room, none of these options is really suitable because they have wires that just kind of go everywhere or they aren't long enough. So that's why these days I use one of these. It's a wireless lav mic. It attaches to my tie, then the transmitting radio sits in my pocket and the receiving radio just sits atop my camera. And this particular kit, the Rode Wireless Go, can even be used with the phone setup we were looking at before, so long as you get the correct cables and adapters. So in terms of shooting videos, that's all the gear I've used throughout the time I've had my YouTube channel. There's a simple setup and the heavy duty gear, but both of them can enable you to create great learning materials for your students. In the next video, I'll show you how I use these day to day in the classroom. How do you take classroom teaching and turn that into videos for students to learn from? I'm Eddie Wu, and my YouTube channel is made up of videos that are recorded during my regular high school classroom lessons. If you're interested in the equipment that I use to do that, check out the previous video. In this video, I'm going to show you how I use all that gear in the classroom, and also what I do with the footage to make it ready for upload. I know many teachers have their own designated classroom, but for most of my teaching career, I've had to move from room to room when the bell goes and I have to teach my next class. When my timetable permits, I try to arrive a few minutes early to set up. Now I stand my camera right at the back of the classroom and then use my zoom lens to crop as close as I can to the whiteboard. When I used to film with my phone, I'd stand it around the middle of the room because that was the best way to capture my entire whiteboard. Nowadays though, the camera resolution on a phone is high enough that I could put it at the back of the room and then crop the video frame to just show the teaching. I'll show you how to do that later on. And what I do next depends on the kind of lesson that I have planned. Sometimes I'll hit record at the start of the lesson and just leave it going the entire time. Other times I'll start and stop the recording to conserve battery. Whichever way I do it, I want to make sure the image is in focus and that the sound is coming through correctly. Now before we talk about editing these videos, I want to pause and make a brief note. My normal videos are recorded with my class in the room as I deliver a timetabled lesson. If you want to do this too, then it's important to adhere to the policies of your school or learning institution around recording and publishing content. Just as an example, all my students are aware that I record lessons in which you can hear their voices and they ask me questions or engage in class discussion. And your organization may have certain rules around this, and it's important that you ask questions to find out what's appropriate. If you aren't allowed to record in the classroom, there are tons of other ways to make learning content. One of my favorites is to use the screen recording function on my iPad to explain a problem and provide a worked solution on a note-taking app like Notability. And we'll return to that idea at the end of the video. The policies of your organization may also affect things like advertisements and monetization. I personally don't monetize my videos, but if you'd like to do this, then you need to find out about the intellectual property rights that apply to things you create as a teacher. I encourage you to do research and ask questions about any areas like this where you're uncertain, because guidelines will change depending on your context. So now let's get to the editing. I've always kept my editing workflow very simple for two reasons. I shoot lots of videos and I don't have lots of time to edit them. All I do is load the video onto my computer and use software like Final Cut Pro to cut the footage into appropriately sized chunks. The average length of video on my channel is around 8 minutes, which lines up pretty well with the attention span I have for dealing with a single concept or question when I'm explaining it to my students. I often pause for a few minutes in the middle of an explanation to let my students work on a task before I re-engage them with the next part of the lesson. So I usually cut those parts of the video out because I'm spending time beside my students at their desks and you don't see anything on the video that's relevant to the entire class explanation. It's also worth mentioning that if you're going to keep your editing simple, like what I've just described, then you can use freely available software like iMovie, which is really user-friendly. It's very straightforward to find the right points on the video's timeline, break it into separate chunks, and then delete the ones you don't want. This is also where it's easy to zoom in and crop the frame of the video if you need to. Speaking of the iPad, as I mentioned earlier, you can make videos entirely on this device. It has a built-in screen recording function that lets you capture footage of whatever's on screen, which for me will often be writing up a solution or visualizing a function with graphing software. The iPad microphone can record your voice, and for an added bonus, you can also use your phone to capture your face at the same time. I know lots of people don't like to be seen, but I've found that a really effective component of engaging communication. So that's what my workflow looks like from the start of a lesson to the end of editing. I always aim to keep it simple, and while you can definitely spend lots of time to make things look more fancy, I try to make content that speaks for itself. In the next video, I'll show you how to upload that content to YouTube where it can get to business and help people learn. You've made some great videos to help people learn. What do you do with them? I'm Eddie Wu, and I teach high school mathematics in Sydney, Australia. In 2012, I started putting videos of my everyday classroom teaching online, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do the same. We'll cover making a channel, uploading content, and organizing it so it's easier for people to use. Now, to make a YouTube channel, you'll need a Google account. If you already have a personal one, I'd encourage you to make a separate one for your educational content. Some schools and other education organizations, like mine, use Google services, and so you might already have a school-based Google account ready to go. Click on your profile up in the top right, then go ahead and create a channel. Follow the prompts, and before long, you'll have your very own home on YouTube. Speaking of which, one of the first things you can do is make it feel a bit more like home. Upload a profile picture you like and find a large wide image to put in place as your channel's header. We're about to upload your first video, but before we do that, it's a good idea to go and make some small changes to your upload defaults. Every video on YouTube has certain information, like the title, which helps people find content when they go searching or when they're watching similar videos. Now, two of the most important pieces of information are the video description and the video's tags, which tell YouTube what topics your video is connected to. Back when I started on YouTube, I uploaded dozens of videos onto my channel before I really paid attention to these. And when I did, I found it kind of cumbersome and time consuming to put in similar information for every single video I put up, especially because I posted so many videos. Upload defaults are exactly what they sound like. We can put some generally relevant information in here and they'll appear by default on every video you put up. To edit these upload defaults, go from your channel into YouTube Studio. Find the settings option and then upload defaults will be one of the subsections. Add some useful information in here and it'll save you having to put it in over and over again each time you upload. Now it's time to put up your first video. The upload button can be found near the top right of the page. Find the video file on your computer and then select it to begin the upload process. And give your video a title that's as succinct as possible, but still gives a helpful description about the video's content. You'll also notice that the description and tags have already been filled in with what we put into the upload defaults, but you can add or change any details that seem relevant to this video. Upload speeds obviously vary wildly depending on what your internet connection is like and how large your video file is. I tend to let my videos upload in the background while I get other work done. Just remember you have enough power and stay within range of internet access. Once your video is uploaded to YouTube, their servers take over and begin processing your file. Again, the length of this process varies depending on how long your video is, what quality it is, how busy YouTube is with the hundreds of hours of other content that's being uploaded every minute of the day. The upload page will let you know once processing is finished. At this point, your video is ready to go live. But before you do, there are a couple of final things to look out for. First, now the video is processed, you can see that the thumbnail has been automatically created from one of the frames in the video. YouTube always gives you 3 options to choose from if you don't like that first one. Alternatively, you can make your own thumbnail image to upload, and this is often the primary thing that grabs people's attention when they're choosing something to watch. Personally, I don't do this because I upload too often and have other priorities for my time, but pretty much every serious YouTuber out there puts a lot of effort into this, so I want you to be aware of how it's done. You can always change this image later if you like. The other thing to keep in mind is scheduling. You can publish a video immediately or set it to become visible at a certain time. I do this so that my videos come out at regular intervals rather than all at once when I squeeze some time in for editing. You may also want to do this so that students can log in and watch at a given time for a task you want them to work on. Let's make this one live right now. If you head back to your channel's homepage, you should see your brand new shiny video ready to go. I'd only suggest one more thing for you at this point, which is to consider adding your video to a playlist. This way you can organize all the videos that relate to a particular teaching topic into one place. I know this won't seem all that relevant when you have just a handful of videos on your channel, but one day you might have a few thousand and you don't really want to make people dig through those videos in reverse chronological order to find the one that they need. So that's it. We've covered recording equipment, basic shooting and editing principles, and now you know how to get onto YouTube and share your videos with the world. Now remember, watching videos alone is no substitute for the full experience of learning with others in an interactive way from a trained teacher. But if there's one thing I've learned over the last few years of having my channel, videos can be an enormously powerful way to support student learning by leveraging all the knowledge and experience of a skilled educator and putting that in the hands of students. I hope you found these videos helpful and that they encourage you to kickstart your own journey in creating a truly global classroom.